Hello, hello! So today we'll be making pork carnitas. I'm just holding my son so he won't make too much noise during this intro. Anyway, so today's Cinco de Mayo. I made an earlier video for salsa fresca, so if you guys want to go check that out, you can. This one is just focusing on making some pork tacos, so I'm really excited. I think they'll be delicious. I got some tips from a couple friends and a couple other people, and we'll see how they turn out, I guess. So yeah, I'll be doing a voiceover for this video because there will be lots of noises going on with my baby and dogs and whatnot. So stay tuned. I'm excited to see if you like my carnitas. I'm using pork shoulder or pork butt. It's the same piece of meat. This piece is 4 pounds. Actually, when I bought it whole, it was 8 pounds with the shoulder blade still in there. So I had to cut it in half, and now I have a whole lot of pork butt that I have to make into food. So I end up dicing mine. It really allows a lot of the spices to coat the majority of the meat rather than just keeping it whole and only putting it on the outside. So that's why I just decided to dice it all up, so that all the spices can get everywhere. So for my spice mix, I end up using about 1.5 teaspoons of cumin. I just ended up dumping whatever was left in my bottle, but that was pretty much 1.5 teaspoons. Then I add 1 teaspoon of oregano, 2 teaspoons of salt, 1 teaspoon of paprika. I kind of do it twice because I didn't fill it up all the way. And then 2 teaspoons of chili powder, and also 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. And I mix that all together to make sure it gets all even. I made sure I had a lot of seasoning just so that it can coat as much of that pork as possible. I really want my pork to have as much flavor as it can because I really want these tacos to be as delicious as possible. So now you can see that my pork is really well coated, and then I go and put it in my fridge and let it sit until I need it again. I do wipe my counters before I move on to the next step because the next step does involve raw vegetables. My ingredients I'm using are leftover from my salsa, so I'm cutting this onion in half. I'm using 1/4 of a jalapeno and 1/2 of a green bell pepper. I was going to cut that little part off, but then I was like, it doesn't matter. It's all getting in there just for flavor. I will be using a pressure cooker to cook my pork. I know traditionally it's usually cooked on a stovetop in a pot for about 4 to 8 hours, and especially in the pork's own fat. But for my liquid, I'm actually going to use soda. I heard from a friend that her family has always been using soda, whether it's Pepsi or Dr. Pepper or orange soda. All we had was Canada Dry, so I figured I would give it a shot. I used about 3/4 of that can. Now I'm just setting my pressure cooker to cook for an hour, and that was the perfect amount of time for 4 pounds of pork. After that hour was up, I added all my very tender pieces of pork into a hot pan of oil, and oh my gosh, was my kitchen smelling delicious. It looked so good while it was cooking, and don't worry, you'll get to hear it sizzle. So today is the next day from having those delicious carnitas. They were so good. Oh my goodness. I even had leftovers today for lunch. I had 2 tacos. I had 2 tacos last night too. I wanted 3, but the oil and the sugar from the soda and everything like that, I think just made me feel like, oh my gosh, this is way too much more than I can handle. I loved the corn tortillas. The crispiness when I fried them up in the pan was really delicious. My husband even made nachos today. He did it like a huge casserole dish, and he dumped a whole bag of cheese on top, and I was like, oh my gosh, I just bought that bag yesterday. But he loved the pork carnitas. They were so good. I was surprised that the soda
like I mean, I use ginger ale, so that's a pretty light tasting soda. Like I said earlier, my friend, her family uses Pepsi or Dr. Pepper or orange soda, and those have more flavor to it. I mean, ginger ale does have a little bit of ginger taste to it. Like Dr. Pepper has more kind of a cherry flavor, orange soda obviously has orange, and I wonder if that orange would complement, because then you're putting the limes and whatnot in there too. So, you know, I'm curious to see like what those would taste like compared. I haven't eaten a lot of pork carnitas or pork tacos to know like different tastes and stuff, but it really, I mean, I think it just tasted delicious. So, very fatty, very oily, but it's so good. Let me know what your family uses or what you guys use. If you use water or beer, I've heard of, stock, like chicken stock, I don't know, beef stock, pork stock. I mean, they don't really make pork stock, I guess, but you can make your own pork stock. Or if you use soda as well. I would be really interested to know what people use to make their carnitas. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Bye! I was trying to get it where I could open it on camera.
You make me mad? Are you recording all that? Oh my god. It's sprayed all over your lens.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
It's okay. It didn't ruin anything.